Hi, scientists. Are you ready to do another experiment? Well, let's take a look. Do you remember what this stuff was called? This was called sawdust. And along with the sawdust on that paper plate, now I have this stuff. These are called wood shavings. How are sawdust and wood shavings the same? Sawdust and wood shavings are both made from wood. They are the parts that come when you work with wood. Sometimes when you work with wood, you make these wood shavings, depending on the tool you use. What was the tool that we used that made this sawdust? Remember, it was called sandpaper. How are sawdust and wood shavings different? Sawdust is much smaller pieces of wood. The wood shavings are much bigger pieces of wood. That is how they are different. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up the sawdust and the wood shavings. I'm going to mix them up. I'm going to mix them together like this, so they're mixed up. Now, what do you think will happen if I put the sawdust and the wood shavings into a cup of water? What do you think will happen? Take a look. Let's see what happens. I'm going to take a little handful and put it in. Take a look. I'm going to stir it around with my finger, get it nice and wet. And now let's see what happens. Look at what's happening. Do you see the sawdust swimming around in there? What do you see happening here? Are we noticing the little bits of sawdust moving to the bottom and the wood shavings more on the top? Let's see if that continues to happen. I'm going to leave it for a bit. Right, coming back to it, take a look. The littler pieces of the wood are they're going more to the bottom, and the bigger pieces of wood are floating on top. The little pieces of wood are sinking to the bottom. You can watch them sinking to the bottom, and the bigger pieces of wood stay floating on the top. So what is happening, and the reason that the littler pieces are floating to the bottom, is that this is a concept when wood gets wet, when wood gets completely wet, it's called waterlogged. Wood gets waterlogged when it gets completely wet. And waterlogged wood sinks. The stuff that's floating isn't yet completely waterlogged. Let me get it out for a minute and put it on a different plate. And you can see the sawdust and the wood shavings are mixed together and they are wet. When wood gets wet, it gets what is called waterlogged. Well, I'm going to keep this wood out on the plate and we'll see if it dries back out. See, right now it's sort of clumpy. We're going to see if we can dry it out into dried sawdust and wood shavings again. Now with this cup, we're going to leave this cup. What do you think will happen if we leave the cup overnight? What about if we leave it for a few days? All right, I filled the cups. They are the same height, the water. And this one I'm going to leave open. And this one I've put saran wrap to cover it. So what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that the water is going to stay in both of the cups, or do you think it's going to evaporate? Do you think it will evaporate the same way in both cups, we're going to see what happens when we leave it. We'll leave it and check in on it every couple of days. Over here, I have my waterlogged, my wet wood. We're going to see what happens if we can dry it out. See, right now, it's not really even moving around. If I hold it up, it's kind of sticky and kind of staying in one place. I'm going to see if we can make it fluffy and dry again. We'll see if we can take the water out of the wood, and maybe it will not be waterlogged anymore, and it'll be back to the way it was. We will see. We're going to leave it and check back in on it in a few days. I hope you've enjoyed experimenting with wood. Have a great day.